Hi, I'm Charlie Mangini, one of the managing partners here at GoVia Alliance Group. Once again, today we have brought Byron Howard and Fran Worth. And it's time for our question of the day. Today's question is, what's the last change you'd let into a building ahead of peak? And additionally, when did you start saying no to any changes? Byron, we'll start with you.
So, too often sites get behind during peak. They run into labor constraints, their overtime levels are getting too high, and rash decisions can happen to want to add a bunch of temporary labor, shift labor from various departments, and you have to be very careful about that. So that would be one of the last things that I would want to touch is my labor model. And as long as I've prepared for it and it's running, overtime's going to occur. Granted, it might be in the 18 to 20%, and that's way too high, but it's better than adding folks that have no idea what's going on in your business, and before you know it, your key people are having to be trainers instead of being productive. So I would really focus on that being one of the last things and going to make some rash, abrupt decisions on my labor model.
Great. Fran?
Thanks, Charlie. I appreciate that question because a lot of times people tend to want new technology to streamline processes, to reduce the gap in labor staffing models. And that's almost one of the worst things you can do because with that comes additional training. You have to have that subject matter expert in-house. You can't rely on the company that developed the software because they're looking to you to determine how you're going to use that. And these are typically investments and projects that you're going to do first, second quarter, not really bringing it in third quarter, and absolutely not fourth quarter. So I would say any enhancements from a technology standpoint, such as WMS, any type of integration for modules that do automation, anything like that, I would stay away from.
Okay, and for me, with a retail distribution background, it's late August. We're finalizing SOPs, procedures. Things are constantly changing within a facility. You may have multiple facilities where they had certain issues with certain procedures, but other facilities didn't. So you've got all these changes that you're trying to button up. My whole push was get that all done by the end of August. And then my no was going into September. No more. It should have already been done. It takes change, as we talked about, change management. It's an all hands on deck process. And when you're constantly changing things on people, you can get a lot of frustration, a lot of misunderstanding. So I'd want to get all those SOPs buttoned up by the end of August, no more changes after that, and really just focus on training and making sure everybody understands the new process. So quite frankly, they can train all the seasonals and temps as you bring them on board heading into peak. So with that, that's our question of the week. We post these every single week and look forward to meeting with you next week on the next question. Thank you.